How you doing, guys? Today I was working on the tins on the Briggs and Stratton engine. Now, this is actually the end of the video, but it's the beginning of the video. Uh, it's the last 6-7 days working on these tins did not go as planned. So I'm going to dive into the video here. It's a little choppy only because it didn't go according to plan. So let's get to work on this, and you'll see how it all ends. Wow, that took me a lot longer than I anticipated. I did take a little break here and there, but it nearly took me all day. I got to get a new gun for my sandblasting booth. It's all worn out and doesn't really work. Plus the media is all worn out, so it just slowed things down. But the blower cover is blasted inside and out. We got the air cleaner, the bore cover, grass screen, the flywheel. That is the lower section of the blower cover. Bore cover inside to the air cleaner and the governor arm that goes across the top of the block. All of this stuff is going to get painted white, except for the grass screen is going to get cleared, so that stays metal color. The flywheel, I'll probably spray it aluminum so it looks nice. The inside of the air filter is not going to get done, but the rest of it's all going to get done in white. So I'm going to go ahead, and the next step is to just kind of wipe everything down and just get it coated in etching primer. So let me go ahead, get that done, and then we'll see what happens. Oh, the other thing, unfortunately, the whole recoil came all apart, so that's going to be a nightmare to put back together, but it is what it is. All right, let's get the priming. I have the internal pulley for the recoil cleaned and ready to go. Unfortunately, the rope right here, right where it bends to get re-spun on the pulley, of course it's frayed a little bit. I probably should replace this. I should really replace this rope, to be honest with you, but I have such a tough time finding the appropriate rope for these things. The ones I find are a little too small, diameter-wise, and then they ended up snapping, but I may fix that. I may have to go to the hardware store or something like that to see if I can find another one. The spring right here, I'm going to wind this back up by hand, get it tightened up so it could fit inside. And this end of the spring has to get clipped into place right there. So you kind of slide it in, and you let it, you slide it in sideways and you let it slip up, so that way this end, or this tooth, where is it? Right there, that tooth engages with the slot, and then I'll let it slowly uncoil, so it's sitting on the inside of the housing. That way I can take this, line it up, because again, there's another hook with a tooth at the end that has to engage with that right there. And then I'm not going to coil it up yet, but I'll just get it all together. I'll bend these tabs down. That's what actually, this tab actually bends down, and that's what actually keeps the whole mechanism in place. And then I can go ahead and wet sand off the primer and get it ready for paint. So that way when I paint it, there won't be any marks, because I'm going to chip up some of the primer. There's no way around it. The other thing I did is I took a Scotch-Brite pad, cleaned out the entire inside of this, just gave it a good scuff to make sure there's nothing that's going to cause resistance for the spring. All right, let me get that done. So after monkeying around with this thing for a little while and getting it all put together, I decided that I'm going to have to do the whole thing. So in other words, get it all together, wind the the recoil, put a little bit of a, tie off the rope with a little bolt here to hold it from going through, and then bending all the tabs down. But like I told you, this rope was a little frayed at the end that goes into the pulley, or right here at the pulley. And yeah, I'm not taking any chances. So off to the store we go. Recoil's all put back together. Nowhere locally had a rope, so unfortunately I went to stock, and I've used this rope in the past. There it is, sorry. I've used this rope in the past for starter ropes, and sometimes it works and sometimes it fails. Hopefully it doesn't fail, but I wasn't going to spend, $10 on just a cheesy little piece of rope, so we're going to use this. I got the little pop rivet here just to hold the rope, obviously to getting sucked back in. I do have a new handle. There was like an NOS style pull handle, because the one I have is cracked, on Amazon for $3. So it was $3 plus tax. It was $3 and like 12 cents, something like that. It was something ridiculous. Gonna be here tomorrow. Beautiful. Just gonna, when I sand, I'll just clean this area up a little bit where the primer got a little bit dinged up. But outside of that, the tabs came out mint. They're totally back in place. They're nice and level, just the way they're supposed to be. And the recoil actuates beautifully. So I'm gonna go ahead, start wet sanding the blower cover down. Started the sanding process. I use 600 grit. It really cuts down the primer nice, and then leaves a nice, scratch, so the engine paint will really stick good. If you take a look here, you can see there's some lighter areas. It might be difficult with the camera to see, but those are actually like little pits in the, not rust pits, but like little modeling in the primer. And when I'm sanding, I'm going to sand this to the point where it looks basically like this. Just nice, even gray. There's no white. I don't use a sanding block when I'm doing this. And the reason for that is there's a high spot right here. There's obviously a little factory wrinkle right here where they stamped the metal. Those are all high spots. If I took a block and went like this, it would just cut the primer right off. You know what I mean? It'll just knock the top right off. So I do it all by hand, real light, back and forth. I'm moving all around, so that way I'm not sitting on one area. I'll do the corners and the edges at the very end. But in general, so like basically right here, you don't see this because the carburetor, air cleaner, gas tank, the starter will be over here. All this is blocked, so I might not even really sand from maybe right about here to here. There's really no need. I'll just make sure there's no dirt or junk in the paint. This will get all done. This entire side is pretty much seen all the way around to the back, so we'll sand all that. Obviously the top of the recoil and the stands. So a little bit of sanding to do, nothing huge, but I'm just going to go ahead, work it around, get it all nice and smooth, and hopefully we'll keep the blow-throughs to a minimum. With all the wet sanding completed, everything's 600 grit. I take a little toothpick and kind of just make sure that I get the bulk of the sanded primer out of all the little holes, spot welds, these two little holes. I did tape off the rope so it doesn't get painted white. I will have to do a little touch up on this area right here once it's all painted, because this is in the way. Gas tank, same thing. Made sure it's all clean. I did the bottom of the air cleaner. I don't want to paint the inside white, so I taped it off, and it's all preliminarily ready to go. I'm going to go ahead, wipe every single thing down with wax and grease remover 2 or 3 times to make sure it's good and clean. Then I'll go ahead, set it up outside, and just go ahead and shoot it with, the product that I always use, Duplicolor engine paint. This stuff dries within 24 hours. as long as the humidity level is not too high, which today it's low. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing this right now. It's part of the reason why I'm doing all this painting right now. It's because the humidity level has been much lower in the 50 to 60% range. Or 50%, 50 or 60 degree range, I should say. So it's perfect for painting. So I want to get this stuff painted today. Let this dry, and then I can always wet sand it out and buff it at a later date, and then we can get back on the physical motor, which will probably be in another video. But let me go ahead. Let's get this set up. Let's get it done. So what happened after all that painting? Well, we had a ton of reactions. I've never had this happen before. I've always had like maybe a little issue here and there, you know, like get a fisheye or, you know, get a run. I mean, it happens. I mean, I got, you know, I spray silicone sprays in the garage. Got the parts washer that's throwing stuff in the air. So you never know. You know, you get a fisheye, you get a run. It is what it is. But every single part here had some sort of reaction. And I don't know if it was the paint itself, just maybe a bad can of paint or something like that. That's the only thing I could think of, because the process that I've used for years and years hasn't changed. Basically, the minute the paint hit this area, it just instantly blistered, and then just like one huge fisheye just pulled right away. Up on top, it just turned all really bubbly. It just was a disaster. Same with the lower section of the air cleaner. The lid had one fisheye in it, which is not that big of a deal. Now, these pieces right here, not this one, but these two pieces, I didn't even put primer surfacer on them. It was just the green etching primer. They all reacted. This thing reacted. We had a big reaction right here on the corner of the gas tank, which really sucks. But in general, I had to re-sand all the parts. So I re-sanded all the parts to 600 grit. I got a can of white primer, so I'll hit some of the dark spots with the white primer, and then I'll reshoot it with a new can of Duplicolor Engine White. All the parts, all the way across. I still have to wet sand the gas tank. So once I do that, then I'll go in and get everything, final sanded, wiped down. I'll dust a little white primer in a few of the dark spots to even it out, and then hopefully I'll wipe down them. I'll wipe it all down with wax and grease remover like crazy. Make sure it's really good and wiped down. I'll let it flash off an hour or two in the sun before I even start painting, just in case if maybe I left too much, wax and grease. Maybe there was some residue left. I don't know, but we'll get that all straightened out. That'll have to be in another video, but for right now, that's where we are. The block is just about ready to do the end gap on the rings and the valve lash. So that's coming up. Obviously, we have a little bucket of parts to clean. The starter motor has been primed. I just got to hit that with some white. I didn't even bother. I said, you know what? I had so many problems with the tins. I'm not even going to bother with the with the starter motor. I had already zapped that with some aluminum color on the flywheel. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I apologize this didn't come out quite as good as I had anticipated, but you know, poop happens. What are you going to do? I was angry at first, but I mean, in the grand scheme of life, this is really not an issue. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And thank you very much to all the individuals that have subscribed to my channel just recently and left a great comment. I really appreciate that. I'm nearly 5,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for your support. And as always, until we meet again to finish these tins or get that engine a little further down the line, you guys have a great day.